Talk Bernie to me. Talk Bernie to me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Halper.
Kathleen Graves.
And this is Talk Bernie to Me, a podcast from
Babes for Bernie.
And we're so excited. We have a great show coming up for you. We've got a special guest.
Hi, I'm a babe for Bernie. My name is Yvonne Gougelet, and I'm a citizen of Long Island City, New York.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
So
you guys met where? Where did you guys meet?
We did actually just, an hour ago.
Yeah.
There was a protest at City Hall. So to back up, we're gonna be talking this episode about the New York primary. That was Tuesday, and the aftermath that's following. That is sort of being reported, not really. So we're here to give you the lowdown and what's actually happening, because we have several personal firsthand accounts of some shenanigans.
Yes, shenanigans.
To put it
indeed.
mildly. But anyway, so we actually just met. There was a protest at City Hall about the voter suppression.
Disenfranchisement.
Yep, that's happening. So
Yvonne, do you want to explain how you got involved in that, and also
Sure.
kind of lay the background about what happened
Yep.
Yeah.
voting-wise?
Absolutely. So, I guess maybe it's important to talk about exactly what happened at the primaries, what led up to it, and then we can talk about the protest and the future things that are going to be happening. Does that sound like a good idea?
Yeah,
perfect.
So some of the information that a lot of us have, researched and uncovered in articles online, that we know that hundreds of thousands of voters across the state of New York were mysteriously removed from the voting books. So not just in New York City, not just in Brooklyn, but the entire state, hundreds of thousands of voters who have been voting for years, staying in their homes that they've lived in for years. They're active, engaged citizens who do local elections, they vote. They were completely removed. Hundreds of thousands of voters across the state of New York. And
For the first time. Like, they hadn't
for
had
the
trouble
first time,
in previous elections.
In previous elections, there is voter purging where they remove people who have passed away.
Right.
Perhaps,
Probably appropriate purging. to
which,
do.
Of
which,
course. Yeah.
however, we had 126,000 voters removed in Brooklyn alone.
Who were living.
Who are living, who not only are living,
Game
but
changer.
engaged citizens who have been voting consistently. So the reason why it's important to know about 126,000 voters in Brooklyn alone is that not only is it Bernie's hometown, but it was the city that was attacked the most. 126,000 in Brooklyn alone. That was the largest city that had all of the voter disenfranchisement.
Of the 5 boroughs.
Across the entire state, out of the 5 boroughs, across the entire state. So when you're reading articles online that say 100,000 voters, no. It's not just 126,000 voters.
From a concentrated.
In
In Brooklyn alone, 126,000 voters were removed. This happened over the entire state. Important to keep in mind that Bernie's hometown was the city that was hit the most, with 126,000 voters that were completely removed. The next important thing to keep in mind is that not only were these people removed, but there were people who have been registered, they're active voters. They looked online and said, oh my God, I've been a Democrat. I voted for Barack Obama 4 years ago, and I did the primaries 2 years ago. My party's been switched from Democrat to independent, or my party's been switched to unaffiliated. New York is a closed primary election, which we can talk about later, but that's not really what we're focusing on right now. We're focusing on the fact that there were Democrats who were removed from the books. There were Democrats who were switched to unaffiliated and independent. So that's thousands more people who are involved in this disenfranchisement.
So I just want to clarify, backing up a little bit. So there's closed versus open primaries. And we're going to table the discussion of the merits of that and the value or lack thereof of those, of having closed primaries. But so people understand closed primary means you have to be registered in the party to vote
As an
in
active
that
Democrat.
primary.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right. So you can only vote in the Democratic primary if you're registered as a Democrat.
Exactly. And that's why it's important to know that thousands of people have reported that their party was switched mysteriously without their information, without their knowledge.
Right. Now, there's been a critique of closed versus open primaries, and that's totally legit, and we can talk about that another episode, another time. But I just want to kind of emphasize that that's not the issue. The issue is not closed versus open per se. We're not talking about that. That's something that's legal, right? Whether or not we like it, there's closed primaries in New York. The issue
play
is
within the
whether or
rules.
not the rules were broken, whether or not something illegal happened, whether people were intentionally purged.
The evidence is mounting. I mean,
Right.
it's unbelievable. I mean, listen.
Sorry,
Yeah,
just
no,
to
no,
review,
please.
the ways that it happened was that they were removed, either just removed, like no longer on
Their names were out of the books.
or they were there, but they were
Their party
taken
was
away
switched.
from the Democratic Party, which meant they thus could not vote.
Right.
Exactly.
And lots of people online on the internet are saying, "Oh, boo-hoo, why didn't you oppose closed primaries a long time ago?" And again, that's
Or you're a sore loser,
Right,
or
yeah. And they should
Crimey River,
pretend
blah,
at
blah,
least
blah.
to pretend. They should pretend. It's a
should
good
at
look
least
to
pretend.
pretend to care
At least
about
pretend.
enfranchisement.
big deal. Absolutely.
Because-
And the fact that no one,
They want us to vote in the primary. If they want us to vote in the
that's
Right.
100%
the
what I
presidential
was thinking.
election
Yeah.
next,
Right.
you want us to vote for Hillary if she becomes the nominee,
Right,
which we're
right.
going to do everything we can
Absolutely.
to make sure that all the affidavits are counted.
Right.
Yep.
But
Yeah, they're going to be begging for it later. And you talk about pie in the sky. I've never heard anything more pie in the sky than assuming that Bernie supporters are going to
Such a good
step
point.
in line
Especially
with
the
Hillary. She's done.
independents.
Oh.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, we
and the young folk that don't do their research.
It's it's unbelievable. So there's one other thing to keep in mind. So you have the people who were completely removed. Then you have the people whose parties were switched. Then you have the people who showed up, like some of the people here in the office.
In this very office, guys.
In this-
The
very
numbers
office.
are over that.
we have
staggering.
3 or 4 people just in this office alone who happen to live in Brooklyn that would look online and said, "Oh my gosh, it says that I'm not registered," or "Oh my gosh, it says that I'm unaffiliated."
Yep.
And so we have those cases where people didn't even show up to vote because they saw online that they,
That they
couldn't.
Yep.
Then we have the people who showed up. Now, each thing that I'm mentioning right here is voter disenfranchisement. It's keeping people away from voting. They removed people's names. They've switched parties so they couldn't vote. Then they would. Then people were showing up. This is another huge issue that has happened across the entire state. People were actually showing up. They had their updated voter card. I mean, I don't even have my voter card.
Yeah.
I wish I had one. I'm like, where is mine? Which is another thing, But people were showing up with their card. They were showing up with their address printed out, their name on the board of elections. They were proving like, I'm a registered Democrat.
And they
It
weren't
says
showing
it
up
right
on
here.
the list.
And they weren't in the lists, in the books. But this is the thing. They were consistently being told they're not in the books. But then when people were demanding more information, we're
Mysteriously.
sorry, your name is actually in the book over here.
Yep.
So there were things like happening like that across the
Yeah,
state.
and that happened to Magenta, one of the core biggest for Bernie. She knows her stuff, so she said, "This is not right. I'm going to call." She called the hotline, the voter hotline number. They told her, "This is what you say. This is the table to go to," and so she went to that one, and turns out her name was there, and she was
Exactly.
able to vote. But
how
so
many
many people didn't know.
How many steps
So-
did she have to take? And I know so many people who had to jump through hoops just to get their opportunity to vote. So those are the people who actually eventually did get to vote on an actual ballot. And here's the most important part of what we're fighting for right now. There are people who showed up, their names were removed or their party was switched, but they demanded an affidavit. And because of the lawsuit that was filed the night before, we're talking a very tiny percentage of people who actually had the chance to vote.
Right.
After all of the voter disenfranchisement, they got an affidavit or provisional ballot. They voted. Those votes were not included in the results on Tuesday.
Right.
So we have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of votes that are sitting in a box somewhere for people who were mysteriously removed or their parties were switched. And we're talking, one thing to keep in mind is that in Brooklyn, there are some whole city blocks that were removed, whole buildings that were removed. This is not just,
Here and
of
there.
people here,
Yeah.
people here. We're talking a whole block, a whole building. People were just removed. Somebody clicked, click, remove. So we have these ballots, these affidavit ballots. We have these provisional ballots that we are demanding. A group of concerned citizens are demanding that part of the audit is that we get those ballots counted
Right.
and put towards the actual vote.
So I did hear. So can someone explain this to me? So someone was saying that the person that's in charge of the audit was actually a Clinton supporter, not even a supporter, but a delegate.
He was an actual delegate. I think it's Scott Stringer, if I'm not mistaken.
He's the comptroller.
Yes. And so he's in charge of the audit, but he was actually a Hillary delegate. So when you were signing his name, when you're voting for Hillary, he was actually on the ballot as one of the delegates that you could vote for.
So is that part of the protest then to have
we need to have an open, unbiased, independent investigation.
Absolutely.
I mean, we cannot just sit here and say, oh, well, let's just have Hillary Clinton's delegate just be in charge of the audit.
I'm sure they'll be fair.
It's going to be so fair. It's going to be so fair. I mean, come on.
Well, what's interesting is that you have people like Mayor Bill de Blasio, Scott Stringer. These are Hillary endorsers. They've come out and endorsed Hillary.
In a major way,
so I think what's interesting is that both kind of justifies the investigation because we're saying this is not a partisan thing. You don't have to be pro Bernie to want this to happen. But then I guess the question is,
are they really going to? Do you really believe they're going to do due diligence?
No, absolutely not. And that's what we're protesting for. That's why we were at City Hall today.
Yeah, we need Jimmy Carter in here. Monitor those elections, Jimmy.
Well, we're pretty much. I mean, listen, there are people who are enraged. I mean, I'm enraged, and I don't even really have the energy to be enraged right now. But I'm completely upset about everything that happened, and we are organizing. We're putting together all of our efforts. We did a protest today in front of City Hall. Why City Hall? Because the mayor's office is there, and he did release a statement. Now, the fact that Mayor de Blasio actually released a statement and it had actual information and it was accurate information,
right?
I was like, well, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal that the mayor even said anything. The fact that it's gotten any press,
right?
We've got to keep riding that momentum.
So speaking of, next Tuesday is a big day. Mm-hmm. Not only is it the primaries for 5 states coming up.
Mm-hmm. It's a big day in the primaries, yeah.
Absolutely. But also, so for the hashtag NY Primary Problems, the group.
Yeah, so the group that formed is NY Primary Problems, and it's a hashtag that we're using just to kind of keep together. It's a little bit of a coalition of just different activists and concerned citizens. You can look for the group on Facebook, NY Primary Problems. It's an open group to join. And also an organization called Money Out, Voters In.
Okay.
They helped facilitate the first protest Wednesday at the Board of Elections in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. So we got about maybe 50 people throughout the day. It was a decent sized turnout considering it was the night after.
Right.
And it's grassroots and it's all done on social media. So we got about 50 people out on Wednesday. It was then that we decided, let's do a new thing called New York Primary Problems so we can all stay connected.
Right.
And then that led to the City Hall protest this morning, which I said, let's do it on the steps of City Hall. I got the reservation for it. And we had about 50 people turn up. And now we're going to take that momentum and we're going to do this action next Tuesday, the 1-week anniversary of the primaries. It's going to be at the Board of Elections in Manhattan. The commissioners will be there. And very important to know that Michael Ryan, the executive director of the Board of Elections, will be there. Now, Michael Ryan. Do you know Michael Ryan, the executive director of Board of Elections? Do you know what his excuse was about all this?
Mm-mm.
Have you heard his quote?
No. Might be as bad as the Arizona woman who blamed the voters for being a mine.
I can't even.
So
Michael Ryan, his excuse when journalists started attacking him the day of the primaries or the day before, why were all these people removed? Hundreds of thousands of people, 126,000 in Brooklyn alone. What is going on? Why are people's parties being switched? What's going on? His quote was, when an election happens, the work stops getting done.
Oh, right. Say that again. You know what?
He said the executive director of the Board of Elections said that when an election happens, work stops getting done. It's mind-blowing to think that somebody in charge of something so important as
the Board of Elections, you have one job.
You have one job. And you're telling me that when the elections happen, that just all work stops. How about when the elections happen, we ramp it up? What is going on? So that's his excuse. So he's going to be there. We're asking for people to come at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
45 Broadway, Board of Elections in Manhattan.
So spread the word. This is serious and,
super serious. And we want to put pressure on. We have groups from all over, different races, different ages. This is not just hipsters in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, that's what people. I love this line. This is literally someone on my Facebook was like, "This is not voter disenfranchisement, voter suppression like we had in the civil rights. This is just a bunch of white Bernie supporters angry
Because
about
their guy lost.
sour grapes."
Yeah.
And this was so satisfying. I was like, "Oh!" I saw on Facebook, and I was like, "So this kind of invisibilizes the people of color who support Bernie Sanders. Tag my friend, tag my friend, tag my friend, tag my friend." So
Where does
I
that
wouldn't
go?
have to, as a white person, I'm not going to like lecture. Look, the guy who said this was white, so I felt comfortable telling him to be quiet.
Yeah.
But it's like,
You
I was
guys
like,
take it
I'll
from
let
here.
my friends who are actually the people you're saying don't exist handle this. But also what happened is that the Board of Elections official
Yeah, she
was she fired? She
was
Oh, yeah.
suspended, but then
In
also,
Diane
yeah.
In
Haslett
Brooklyn.
Rudiano, yeah, in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, so she's a scapegoat at the end
Right,
of the
that's
day
what we-
because
right.
there's no way. Listen, even if she was, it's a tactic. This is what they do. They did the same thing with the BP oil spill. Happy Earth Day, by the way, everybody.
Yeah.
With the BP oil spill, they like to just pin it on some, and it's always a woman. And this is what gets me. I swear, I see it over and over and over and over again. They find some woman to just blame everything
Fall
on.
on her sword,
And
ironically enough.
yeah. And so listen, hey, action was made. Clearly, she was not doing her job, whatever
Right.
she was. But we're not I am not satisfied. We're not satisfied with her
and it's
being
not,
fired.
And it's not enough to say, "Oh, well, we'll get it for the next time." This is happening now. This is so important, and there's
People saying like, "Oh yeah, let's just focus on the next election." Excuse me, no. This election is not over. This fight is not over.
Absolutely
We're going to
not.
demand that our ballots are the affidavits are voted or
Yes.
counted. But we're also really pushing for the people who were purged that they have the opportunity to go and vote.
yeah.
Actually, Pete is here.
Oh.
Hi, Pete. So Peter is not just the sound engineer.
He's a babe for Babe for
and
Bernie.
babe for Bernie, but you are an actual poll worker.
Correct.
We just want to emphasize that.
And so I on my site, which was in Brooklyn,
Which part?
we had so many affidavits.
Peter,
so
where were you in
many
Brooklyn?
people. Sorry?
Where
in
were you in Brooklyn?
It was Henny Yates Apartments. It would have been around Bushwick area.
Bushwick, yeah.
Ridgewood, that
Which,
area.
you know,
Bernie, big
interesting
Bernie areas.
enough, yeah, the Bushwick burners are a huge support
Oh,
for Bernie Sanders.
Right. Well,
It's
and
massive. It's massive.
that my site, because I looked it up later, was very, very pro Bernie.
Yeah.
How do you know, by the way? What is
Because you can look up scanner results, only scanner results online through the Board of Elections.
Okay.
And so if you know the election district and whatnot, and they report it as 99% reported in, but the reality is that's only scanners,
not the affidavits or the provisional ballots.
not affidavits and not absentee.
what are scanners?
So
what are scanners?
So the scanner is when you go to vote at the polls here, you take a ballot, you fill it
Little
out,
Scantron thing,
and then you
right?
walk to a scanner and you put it in the scanner.
Oh, okay, got it.
So it only counts those votes.
Right.
They pretend like that's the most votes. In my location, I couldn't get the number of all of the affidavits because there were so many people who came and were told. I mean, there were a lot of things that were wrong about it because they were told that their name wasn't in. They insisted upon it. I had an election coordinator who insisted that they were liars, that they came to the polls, and that there was no way that the Board of Elections could have made a mistake.
So not even that they weren't just defending their integrity and honesty. They were saying there was no way it was mistakenly.
Right. They refused to admit there was a mistake. If
stupid.
somebody contested or did not feel like filling out an affidavit, we, as poll workers, our responsibility is to tell them that they can get a court order. However, no one whose job it was to do that would inform anybody, and so people who said they were registered to the right party, were told that they weren't on the list, and so they logically, as a reasonable person, decided not to vote because they know that their vote's not going to get counted in that
Right.
media report or anything.
Yeah.
Chose not to submit an affidavit either. That being said, we had about 20%, we estimated, were affidavits of the people who came to vote. About 1 in 5 people.
So one thing I'm just
Thanks,
going to
Peter.
one thing I'm going to just add to that is that there are some polling places that have reported that Hillary won by 11 votes. Hillary won in some polling locations by 11 votes. So we have 1 in 5 people couldn't vote, didn't vote, voted on an affidavit. The affidavits weren't counted. How many approximately affidavits do you think, just hypothetically, that was at your polling?
In my poll site alone, there were, I didn't count the final, so around probably, in the early evening, there were over 60, 70 affidavits.
Okay, so
there were so many affidavits.
There were so many, and this has never happened.
We have an envelope. As a poll worker, you have an envelope where you put them in at the end of the night. They didn't even fit. We didn't even know what to do. So we had to figure out where to put them. There wasn't enough room.
Where did you put them?
Well, we ended up. I don't know
Where
because
are
that's
they?
not. That's
Because that's
that-
evidence.
A duffel bag or something?
I
a
was
duffel
a
bag
scanner.
burned in
Yeah.
East Side River, whatever.
Well, that's the scary part because the election coordinator who's in charge of that, because my job is a scanner inspector, so I actually don't have any control, or I don't know where they go. Obviously, they're supposed to go to the Board of Elections, and they're supposed to be counted at a later date.
And what is the legal excuse for not counting the affidavits?
They say they count if it's close, but what they're saying is, well, it was a 15-point
Landslide.
difference, so it's not close. But when you look at the number,
Right, don't they add
that
up?
would
I mean, you guys, this is blatant. It's just.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It's just unbelievable how sloppy they were and how blatant they were.
I mean,
Bushwick?
it goes even further at my site.
Dun, dun,
For
dun.
example, yeah, there's more. At my site, the election coordinator went so far as to show her bias when explaining to voters that as a Democrat, there were 2 choices, Hillary or that other guy.
You were kidding me.
No.
Did you film that or record it
No,
on
because
your
you
phone?
can't expect this stuff. Like
No,
it
of
just
course,
comes
you
out of their
wouldn't
mouth.
anticipate it. You wouldn't
The same thing
anticipate
happened
it.
to me.
So
should have just had a GoPro on,
Wait
like
a
a
second.
Yeah, I know, I
like,
wish.
a
Wait a
whole
second,
day.
hold
I
on.
wish.
Let's just rewind and pause for a second.
Yes.
Peter, who's a poll worker, just said that the person who is overseeing the voting announced
Correct.
out loud, not just in her head or her
No.
diary,
No.
or
Her
some
diary.
like voice
asshole.
garbled, face blurred video, propaganda video. No, she said publicly, your choices as Democrats are to vote between Hillary Clinton or that guy.
That other guy.
That other guy.
That other guy. It might have been that other old guy or something. I don't
Well,
remember
she
the
could have
specific
used
word.
a Jewish slur, so I want to give her props. For
No, she
holding
did
back.
not. She did not do that.
Yeah, you see. So you know what? There's a
Could have
she
been-
could've
it could
gone a
always
lot
be
further.
worse.
Exactly.
So I have a question as a concerned citizen who really wants to know about what happened at the polling station.
Yes.
What was the overall attitude about the fact that all of these people were showing up and having affidavits? Did that particular woman have anything to say?
That's a good yes. So I can tell you other poll workers' reactions and the
Yes,
election
please.
coordinator. First, let me say that one thing that's kind of terrifying is the election coordinator has been working at polls for more than 40 years in the city of New York, which is kind of scary.
Can we get her in?
But
to the
that's
podcast?
experience.
Yeah,
but
right.
that's what we would consider experienced poll workers.
Well, that's what experience
Well,
apparently.
Well, not
Is that
to draw
experience like
parallels to
Hillary Clinton?
Clinton's
Yeah.
foreign policy experience. I mean, I think we were all thinking that.
But so as I was saying, so I was talking to her about it because I had a question as to why there were so many affidavits, if she'd ever seen anything like that ever. She said, "No, but they're all just a bunch of liars. They're
Stop
all
it.
just a bunch of damn liars. And you got to be on your watch. You got to be on your watch because
wow.
they will lie, they'll show up, they'll make up anything."
Oh, are you? They're saying about the voters.
Yeah, that's what she was talking
That
about
would
the
be weird
voters.
if that was Peter's voice. So I was like, that's a little old and a little bit like arcane in his speech. Wait,
Wow.
but and no one
Why?
videotaped or audio taped this, right?
I tried to get some. Like I said, the thing was like, you have to be
if you're there
prepared
all
for
day.
Right,
this.
of course.
Yeah.
No, we know that. We're not. I'm
And
curious.
things would just flow, and then other times,
Right,
she
so
it
you-
was just
right.
normal.
That's annoying.
And also, you're not allowed. Like
Right.
that would actually not
Right,
be
right. But you could've leaked it. You
allowed
could've
or
leaked
legal.
it. We would've
So I didn't really want to do that either. As far as the other poll workers were
Yes.
concerned,
Mm-hmm.
because I asked them as well. This is my first time working a poll in the state of New York, and I was very surprised. And so I asked them about it, and they all said, "We have never seen anything like this." And a lot of them thought it was fishy. just straight up fishy, and they were all saying like, oh, we're gonna go home and we're gonna turn on the news and it's gonna be all over the news. That's what they were expecting because, and that's just
It's
one
so
site.
egregious.
That's just one polling site.
They didn't know
that it was widespread.
that.
So really, the fact that Bernie was able to come within 15 points is epic.
Yeah.
I mean, I just by working at that site, I knew that Bernie wasn't going to come any closer than 10%. I was positive just because of where I was working and what I was seeing.
Well, and the interesting thing is, before the results came in, when the polls closed, the exit polls said it was much closer than it actually wound up being. It was 48 to 52. So how are the exit polls that off?
Right.
They actually, there are some people who are really good with math and statistics and said that it's just completely impossible from what the exit polls were compared to what the final results were. So, listen, at the end of the day, we do not live in a democracy, and how they keep us, with the same world leaders over the same presidents, the different families,
Dynasties.
The dynasties, people are going to say, oh, well, Obama isn't and whatever, and we're not going to even get into that. But the reality is that we have proven on record computer programmers down in the state of Florida. I'm from Florida, and where the hanging chad happened, and when GWB was Bush was became president. Computer programmers on trial under oath admitting that congressmen, local congressmen were reaching out to say, hey, can you create a software program that can flip the votes for our upcoming election? And this computer programmer was like, when he was put under trial, when there was suspicion about voter fraud, he was put under trial, and he said, yeah, this particular congressman paid me or wanted to pay me to create a program that could flip. And he's like, listen, it happens. It exists. Diebold, they're the people who create the voting machines. People can easily rig these machines, and this is what they're finding in Chicago, which is happening right now. Like, this is why I don't understand why the whole country isn't up in arms. Why we only had 40 people. No, it's not getting covered because the mainstream media is an arm of the corporations and the Democratic and the Republican establishment.
Honestly, also, it's a little bit confusing. I mean, people are we've become, and this is not judgmental. I feel like my brain has shrunken. Like, we're a listicles culture, right? 10 reasons that blah, 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 blah.
I can give you 10. I can give you 10 reasons. I'm just saying.
No, we should. But my point is,
I have it. Actually, I have 11.
It's, 1-minute explainer videos, 10 top 10 reasons or whatever. It's hard for people to pay attention to this, and this is kind of not that straightforward. You have closed versus open primaries. Most people don't know what that is. You have delegates. Most people don't really understand the delegate system.
We have the super delegates.
You have super delegates, and then you have the issue of disenfranchising people not being able to vote, partially due to open versus closed, but that's not the issue, and it's partially due to not being listed or being switched. So again,
and in addition to showing up at the polls, and even though they're in the books, they're saying that they're not in the books.
But then they are in the books. So that's the third level. So there are 3 styles of let's just whittle it down because there are too many types of disenfranchisement. So we're going to whittle it down. We're not even going to count the clear bias of the poll coordinators. What are they called?
Election coordinators?
The election coordinators who are like, you can vote for Hillary Clinton or this shriveled up raisin of a man. She didn't say that. She said,
which is my guy.
Our guy, my boyfriend, our bae.
Our bae.
We're not going to count that. We're going to be conservative in our points. Whoops.
So it starts with the fact that 66,000 new voters were sent the wrong date.
Oh, so that's 4, I guess. So we
start with there because that happened prior to the election. The fact that they were sent, new voters were sent the wrong date, number 1.
September. To vote in September.
Vote in September. Number 2 is that hundreds of thousands of people were completely removed. 126,000 in Brooklyn alone. So that's number 2. Then people's parties were switched from Democrat to either unaffiliated or independent. So that's number 3. Number 4 is that when people were showing up, they were in the books, but poll workers were telling them that they weren't, or that their parties were switched. And most of those people didn't get the chance to vote.
Right, because you're not going to be like, oh, you're lying to me.
So far we have I'm a voter and I've had 4 separate things happen to me, or one of the 4 things happen to me. They show up at the polls and then they're turned away. Or a very, very, very small percentage of people actually were able to get an affidavit, get a provisional ballot, and actually place their vote. So there were,
And even those you're bursting at the seams.
But they're not being counted,
and they're
right?
not even being counted.
And that's not even on the slide. They're literally saying we're not counting.
No. They're literally not counted, and that's what the lawsuit is for. That's what the Board of Elections hearing is all about. That we're demanding.
So really, and
It's
so
also there at my poll site. Anyone who did take an affidavit and filled it out, they were told that it would be counted. They were.
And that's unacceptable.
That's a lovely combination.
Unacceptable.
So-
because that's a lie.
Mhm.
That's a complete lie.
Yeah.
So it's a lie followed up with it's a lie with a chaser of disenfranchisement.
Oh,
A surprisingly honest one, though, too.
Okay, so
Well, that's for. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
So that's for also for a while. The election coordinator was refusing affidavits to a few people. There was someone who came to the polls. He was confused by this and said that shouldn't be the case. He ended up being removed by a police officer.
Wow. Oh my God. Do you have his name?
I have his phone number.
Yes, we got to
but,
get in contact. I have to
right
get in
now,
contact.
no
but-
warning.
Yeah. His point was it was a lot murkier. Well, because I don't remember exactly how it started, and it has to do with somebody thinking that they're an independent but not sure if they were an independent, and then just being flat out denied an affidavit. Mm-hmm. And his point was that they need to give the affidavit anyway, because then that goes to the Board of Elections, and the Board of Elections decides what to do with it.
Exactly. That's what affidavits are for.
When that didn't happen, or when he was told that they wouldn't be given an affidavit, then he called the Board of Elections, and he got them on the phone. Of course, they said, yeah, you just give them the affidavit. He brought that to the election coordinator, and she refused to talk. I'm not giving you my name. I'm not talking on the phone. I'm
you
not
have
doing
her name?
anything. Her name is Joanne.
Oh,
She
Joanne.
did not. She did not.
She didn't give her last name.
Well, she didn't wear her badge.
Okay, so we can figure out who she is, though, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, Joanne.
And I'm in the process.
Pack up your bags.
I'm in the process of.
She sounds like
filing
a culprit.
complaint.
Wait, let's
She's an-
video. I'm not even
You do
kidding.
need
Let's
to-
go and videotape. Let's find her and then confront her with a video camera.
100%. I'm down. I'll help you.
It's going to be a Babes for Bernie
Bust.
expose.
A
Babes for Bernie bust. Not Bernie or bust.
Busted.
It's Babes for Bernie bust. There's no or.
Busted.
We're busting someone. Forget that.
Oh, like it's happening because he has her name, and we can find out her
Joanne,
information.
sorry.
We have her information because of the Board of Elections, but file an official complaint.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to
You
do.
are
But
a poll
you know how
worker.
hard it is to do. It's really hard to work with the Board of Elections.
Oh, really?
It's
Oh,
it's
gee, I
really
wonder-
hard.
You should say, hi, I'm looking for that woman who said not to vote for the shriveled up little Professor Lil Ullman.
You need to document. You need to write
I know,
exactly
you
what
gotta
happened.
have, no,
and you have to join.
Mike, where's Mike? We need Mike here. Mike needs to give you a stick mic, no pun intended, because that's his name. Michael needs to give you I guess a stick mic, no, a hidden mic. I don't care if it's illegal.
Undercover?
We'll
Let's
give
do it
you-
undercover.
We'll give you
yeah.
protection. Whatever. We'll send you to
Peter,
Russia
we
like
should
Snowden.
have prepared you. So I'd love to do a call to action. So if you are one of the people that showed up to one of the rallies, either Prospect Park, Washington Square, thousands of people. There were 50 people at the protest today.
There were only
which
50.
Which is a start. But
Yeah,
we need
11 o'clock on a
Not
Friday.
just people who came to the protest. How about if you had any of these
oh
problems?
yeah, for sure.
Why don't they do this? Ready?
Yeah.
They film themselves on
Twitter.
their phones for now. They
And then
say
Do a
what
hashtag.
happened.
If you
NY
could use, of course, you could use Babes for Bernie.
No. But NY primary problem.
Hashtag NY primary problems. Hashtag NY primary problems. You can do that on Facebook, on
Facebook, Twitter,
and
Instagram.
But
Post.
if you do it on Instagram, can I suggest that you
Tagging.
tag Babes for, you use the hashtag NY primary problems. A little long for Twitter, but it's still good. And tag
Babes for
Babes
Bernie.
for Bernie, whether it's Twitter,
Yeah.
Facebook, or Instagram, and then you can
reach
reshare
out.
them.
Yeah.
And then we can edit a 17,000 hour long compilation of all the people who had
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah, and I can link you guys up if you want to have more phone calls in the future. I am connected to grassroots groups, organizations that have organically developed since Tuesday's debacle. It's a disaster.
And what is the next action you're doing?
So there's a surprise. I can't really talk about the action that's happening Tuesday
Early morning.
Is there a way that people can find out?
come to NY Primary Problems group on Facebook. We are organizing a protest, a nonviolent civil disobedience protest Tuesday morning. That's still in development. It's under low key. We can't really talk about the details just yet because it's a
surprise.
It's a surprise.
In some way. I mean,
it's a surprise. It's a surprise. Yeah. Well, if you want to get involved in that protest, of course, leading up to Tuesday, we'll have more information. But I can't talk about it right now because it's still in development. So that's Tuesday morning. But really, the most important thing right now to focus on is Tuesday at noon. A large group of people. We have different groups, voter suppression groups, voting right groups. They're all coming in. Tuesday. Next week, the 26th of April, at 45 Broadway, the Board of Elections in Manhattan, the executive director of the Board of Elections will actually be there. Michael Ryan, he's the one that I mentioned earlier that said that when elections happen, all the work stops.
Basically, there's a slowdown during elections.
It's just unacceptable.
A halt. It's a strike. They go on strike during elections.
Yeah, so that's the action that's happening Tuesday at noon. If you can join us, if it happened to you, if you're an angry, concerned citizen, please join us.
Just a quick question is, if you lived on the Upper East Side, were there any problems with these? Or any those types of?
It happened all across the state of New York. Hundreds of thousands of people across the state,
specifically,
but the most
Brooklyn.
Happened in Brooklyn, and you really have to wonder, why was there such a concentration in Brooklyn? Who was born and raised in Brooklyn?
It's personal.
It's personal, Hillary. It's purged.
I just want to say one more thing. I know I've talked a lot.
There's a lot of dishonesty and crime to cover, so you got to talk a lot. That's what happens.
There's one thing that I would really like to say about the fact that I came back to New York and went to a Greenpoint, Brooklyn rally for Bernie 2 weeks ago. And then I went to, and that had about a couple thousand people. He had come from an earlier rally in Bushwick that had, he was at his home street. He was actually outside.
We spoke to one of his neighbors.
There was a couple thousand people in Bushwick. Then there was a couple thousand people in Greenpoint. And these were all last minute rallies, completely last minute. But people were showing up, in masses. Then we had the very large march. Then we had the rally in Washington Square Park, which was
more than Obama.
I mean, I was there. I have been to hundreds of protests. I have been to hundreds at this point in the 10 years.
She's a real hippie. Oh, you can see if you're watching the video. See.
Yeah, the armpit hair. But anyway, but listen, I've never seen anything like it. I did see Obama in Chicago when he was inaugurated, but that was come on, he was inaugurated. This is a freaking primary campaign, and Bernie had estimated 27,000 people, but although the numbers are reported higher, but several tens of thousands of people showed up. I've never seen anything like it. And then just 3 days later on Saturday, there was a massive march and rally that had tens of thousands of people involved. And then on Sunday, you had
his largest to date.
Prospect Park had estimated 28,000 people showing up. So
in the middle of the park, and actually I went, and it was sort of tricky to find.
It was hard to find, and then people didn't know where to go because it was hard to get in. But once of course, we all got in the line. The line.
Oh yeah, we were waiting for so long to get in Washington Square Park. I mean, the fact that people didn't just turn around and be like, "Peace, bye."
Oh no,
maybe because they like peace, and because they like peace.
Because they like peace, they were peaceful and waited like all of us did. We all were peaceful and waited.
But didn't peace out.
So my observation as a citizen journalist, as a journalist, as a person with open eyes, I have seen approximately close to 100,000 people showing up for Bernie in a 2-week time span. If you count all of the little rallies that he had, that's 100,000 people in New York City.
There could have been repeats, though. So
there could have been. I mean, I was overlap. A repeat. That's a very good point. So let's just say let's just half that. Let's half that. 50,000 people.
That's 40. Let's even 40.
Well, no. We have 27,000 at Washington Square, and then we have 28 on Sunday in Brooklyn. So that's already over 50,000. If there are some repeats, okay. But then you had the massive march on Saturday that happened. That was at least 10,000 people.
In theory, they could be all the same people. It's
I
not
mean,
likely,
guilty, but-
Okay, guilty. I mean, yeah,
exactly,
guilty.
And
Super
I just
guilty.
don't want, you see, I don't
So then-
want the people who are trying
I
to
think we're cooking the
debunk us-
books.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. 'Cause you see the difference between our side and their side?
That we're
We
actually
are
we're down.
accountable. We're
we're down.
We're
we're
downplaying it. We're
yeah.
being conservative, not politically, but in our estimates.
There were reports
Progressive conservatives.
there were reports that 48,000 people showed up in Washington Square Park.
I love the fact. I love the way all these so-called liberals who are hating on Bernie are like, oh yeah, that many people? That's not what the police said. Yeah, the police. Since when do you liberals cite the police's estimates?
But
as,
also
reliable?
the police actually are the ones that, according to some reports, that were the ones that reported 48,000.
Wow.
We are actually reporting what Bernie Sanders' campaign said, 27,000.
Keep them honest. I have to admit, I'm embarrassed. I did the Young Turks the other night. It was really fun. I didn't even talk about this at all, the disenfranchisement, because I had just spoken to this lawyer. But it took a while. It took a while to hit me. The full effect of this.
It's a lot of information, and it's not being reported accurately.
And even if you don't,
So then
think
you
that
sort of
there's
sound
any,
crazy.
Exactly.
If you're like,
Oh, yes.
the
Conspiracy
mainstream
theorists.
media is right,
Thank you,
tinfoil
mainstream
hats, blah, blah,
And
blah.
also, it's just not a good look, guys. People opposing recounting or waiting. It's not a
especially
good look.
if you want our votes in November.
if you want our votes in November,
But
yeah.
even not doing that, which Kathleen is totally going to do that, and and I will be I'm going to be the foil who makes another argument related, which is just this: you want to pretend. I'm just giving you guys. I'm giving Team Hillary some free PR tips here. Okay, each episode I'm going to give you guys free PR because I do want, if she wins, on the off chance she wins, I do want people. I mean, this is not an official base for Bernie position. I would like for her to be. I would dislike for a Republican to be president. So here's the thing: I want to tell people this is how you do not get people's votes by overtly embracing
Voter disenfranchisement.
obstruction of justice and voter disenfranchisement. So it's just not a good look. Just like when
not
you
a good look.
attack Bernie Sanders of being a dishonest smearer, misogynist who attacks Hillary Clinton.
Well,
you don't have the evidence.
Well, it's interesting that you were saying that you're going to give
Tips.
free
pro
tips
tip. Yeah.
because what was Hillary's super PAC is now.
Oh yeah,
It's been $1 million.
Correct the record. Was it correcting the record? Correct the record. We're going to actually hopefully talk to some about that. But guys, really, if you're listening and you've been or someone you know has been disenfranchised, really honestly, I feel like the only way to get the word out besides this podcast is going to be a viral video.
Yeah.
That's a mashup, a 17 million hour long
That's
mashup
actually
of all
a really
these
good
people
idea.
saying what happened to them. Especially because we're going to hear the same stories from this particular part, right? So stay where you were. If you know Joanne's name, you know your person's name. If they said anything bad, and that's how we can cross-verify it, because you know that they're going to just say that we're a bunch of hippy-dippy liars.
Right.
So, and by the way, it's not just people who wear skinny jeans who like Bernie Sanders. It's an important thing to know.
Yeah, that's true.
They're trying to hipster smear us.
I mean, there's unions and all sorts of because
what
Bernie
could be
has
less hipster than unions? I interviewed the head of the United Transportation Workers.
yeah.
Full Bernie.
It's unbelievable. I was in Brooklyn, and there was working families that were promoting him and campaigning for him. One thing that I just wanted to finish up the point about all the rallies that happened in the past 2 weeks, because we kind of got a little sidetracked, is that we were talking about let's just estimate 40,000.
Yeah.
Well, let's just estimate.
I'll say 30. Why not?
Okay, you know what? Let's do 30,000. That there was 27,000. Wednesday, and that there was 28,000 on Sunday in Prospect Park and then Washington Square. So even if half of them were repeats,
right.
So we're going to estimate, we're going to really lowball it at 30,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to say 40, but anyway.
We'll have to have
We had 40,000 people show up over a course of 2 weeks for Bernie Sanders. The largest rally that Hillary Clinton had less than 1,000 people.
Whoa!
All
Wait
of her.
a second.
This is real.
Hold on.
This is real.
Let's be ultimate, not conservative. We're going to be reactionaries. We're going to be like the right wing in Europe right now. We're going to be like Golden Sun or whatever that Nazi party is in Greece. Let's just say 28,000. Let's just say 28,000, just to be super conservative.
Let's just be super conservative.
28 times the number of supporters that Hillary Clinton got.
Exactly.
And we're supposed to think that
Hillary won in a somewhat landslide in Brooklyn.
Now,
it's personal.
to be fair, we could say, again, I'm doing the fair thing. We could say a lot of these people are younger, first-time voters. Maybe they're independent and they'd be totally not able to vote. But still, that doesn't make up for the 28 times differential.
No, and also I found this, so from Francesca Rhiannon from Long Island for Bernie Sanders. She says, and she is the ultimate non-hipster. Looks like a really sweet grandmother. She says, in bold, my experience as a poll worker at the epic fail of the primary. She worked a 17-hour shift as an election official in East Hampton, New York, and said close to 20% of the people that came in had to fill out
which is
affidavits.
exactly
same.
So we're
exactly
and then
the
keep
same.
reading because what she has to say is very important.
Yeah. She said, let that sink in for a moment. Many of these voters were long-term registered Democrats. Some were couples where one person was still registered and the other one was not. And she said she was canvassing in the days previous to the primary, and she said in her area she found overwhelming support for Bernie. Nearly every household where I actually talked to voters, which was about 40% of the houses, almost all were for Bernie. But at the polls today, many of those had disappeared from the voter roll book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think she goes on to say, if I'm not mistaken, that she was the one that said that it came down to 11 votes.
Oh, was it? That was I just
so
had a
if
screen grab
we
where it cut off
if
the rest
we
of-
have 20% of the voters were not able to vote, and then we've got more that were just completely turned away, and
They
then we
didn't
have
even
the people who looked online and said, "Oh, I'm
not
not
even gonna
registered,
bother to show up."
not even going to bother showing up." We've got all these people. And we only have a very small percentage of affidavits, but there was more people that could have voted. Hillary
even
won.
if you
Hillary
just-
won by 11 points in that polling
All right,
place.
guys,
This
we're
is a
gonna,
big
this
deal.
Is a
Huge.
BFD, as Joe Biden
Yep.
said. This is a big effing deal, as he said to Obama about the healthcare thing.
I love that.
We're gonna be coming back. We're probably gonna have to start an hourly podcast instead of daily because we're gonna have so much breaking news. But seriously, hashtag your things.
New York primary problems.
And NY primary
NY
problems.
primary problems. That's hashtag NY primary problems on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And
Tell us your story.
There's-
I wanna hear.
there's also a-
tag Babes for Bernie, which is a 4 FOR.
No.
No,
Yeah.
Babes
Yep.
for Bernie, and we'll share that because we've got a lot of followers. What were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, if anybody out there that's listening or watching later that wants to join, who's concerned and wants to join our coalition, it's NY Primary Problems on Facebook. It's an open group. You just have to ask to join. But I accept everybody all day. We've already got 500 people, probably more at this point. We've got close to 500 people in just 2 days. And these are just people who are concerned citizens, not just people who are affected, but people like us who care.
About disenfranchisement,
And
weirdos.
yeah,
freaks.
and so join that group. That's where a lot of information is going to be happening, and that there's going to be
what's the number again? 100 and what?
126,000 in Brooklyn alone.
I got 126,000 problems, and a New York primary is one of them.
It's true.
Boom! There you go. You have your campaign song. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh,
because
no,
I was
no,
just
it's fine.
Inspired, and it could really help.
Yeah, I think
Really
that we
campaign.
really, really touched on everything today. I mean, I am really happy and really thankful that
So again,
we met at the
thank
City
you so
Hall
much for joining
protest.
us. Where can we find you online as an individual?
As an individual, it's actually pretty simple. Yvonne, which is with a Y, Yvonne G NYC, so YVONNEGNYC. Instagram, Twitter, and then you can find my Facebook on there if you want to add me or follow me. But I just wanted to say, Babes for Bernie. I'm original Babes for Bernie. I actually wrote in his name on the ballot 4 years ago.
Wow. Pre-Babe for Bernie.
I'm an OG. I like to say I'm an original gangster. Babes for Bernie. His filibuster speech in 2010.
Oh my God, stop it. The stamina that comes from being a long distance runner. We talked to a childhood friend. He said he was one of the best long distance runners in the city.
Well, you know what? That makes so much sense.
And of course.
I mean, now I'm inspired to start running again. Oh my God. Because
Me too. By again, I mean for the first time ever.
I mean, yeah, seriously. Let's be real. He did the 9-hour historic 9-hour filibuster speech in 2010. The end of 2010. I think it was in December of 2010, and I remember hearing about it and watching it. And this was after the BP oil spill, which I'm from the Gulf of Mexico, and I've worked with victims down there in the Gulf. And, you know, when I heard him talking about all these corporations and the Bush tax cuts and his historic speech, I said, oh my God, all of this horrible stuff, all of the poverty in our country, the homeless children, the starving children, the elderly not being taken care of, all because of these tax cuts for the wealthy and the corporations not paying their taxes and all of the money going towards war. And
how could you say that when the president of BP, you didn't hear him say he just wants his life back?
Oh my God!
How could you say this about him?
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and
insult to
that
injury.
could be a whole other conversation because actually the 6-year memorial was yesterday or 2 days ago, Wednesday, 4/20. I mean, it's so unfortunate that like.
It 420 went up in flames. Oh no, that was the other thing that was flames. Sorry.
No. It
I can't
blew
keep
up.
Track of the. Oh yeah, it was flames. Okay, good.
It blew up.
Not
so,
good, you know.
But the point is that when I heard that speech, I was just completely thrown into becoming an activist, and I quit my day job. I started working with peace organizations, and I started becoming a citizen journalist. And Bernie Sanders became my fake boyfriend, and I hand delivered.
Look at Jane.
Oh, I actually met Jane, and I have a picture.
Jane, we love Jane.
I have a picture with her, and I'm like, oh, the fake girlfriend, because I started calling.
Love that.
No, I did not tell her that. I didn't want to disrespect her in any way.
Of course.
But I hand delivered a letter in 2011 saying you have completely inspired me to become a full-time activist. And I actually have a video of it. Original Babes for Bernie, literally 5 years ago. Saying, please run for president. Like, we really need you.
This could have been the babe behind babe we know as Bernie.
I mean, seriously, I am like an original babe. All my friends know. Like, it's crazy. They're like, wow, like this. And I'm like, yeah, it's happening.
Did he read it? You just hand delivered it?
I hand delivered the letter. I have a video.
Him? Or to
I hand delivered it to his like aide.
That's fine.
But apparently he does read especially handwritten letters, and I thought that was sweet.
Can you
but
just
then
imagine him by the fire.
So then we started a campaign called Run Bernie Run, Facebook, Twitter, online, Run Bernie Run. And so we were a group of people who were just like, we have to get him to run. And then I hand delivered a birthday card. I was in town on his birthday.
And then he filed a restraining order. But seriously, though, this is not over, right?
Yeah.
This is the big point. The big takeaway is I did radio today. I did serious radio, and I'm like really mad at myself. I didn't even challenge the notion that it's over. The reason we're saying it's only over if we accept major disenfranchisement. I never know what accent syllable to put the accent on.
It's only just begun, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because
Bernie's not quitting. We're not quitting.
We have to. We just have to shine more light on this.
It's important for people in other parts of the country to realize
videotape as much as you can
to realize what's happening. Because if you think about it, that was a great run. All the states leading up to it. They're not even going to
get out to vote.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So that's why this is so important.
This is huge.
Because next Tuesday it has more delegates at stake than
how many? Which states? So what? Pennsylvania,
Delaware, Connecticut,
Maryland,
Rhode Island.
So guys, if you're please do not consider this is what they want. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's not. Sometimes there's all real. Conspiracy means is more than one person, so it is a conspiracy. I mean, everything that happens basically is a conspiracy.
Exactly.
So. This is what they want us to do. They want us to get discouraged, think it's over. What's the point in voting? Please, let's not do this. Let's actually show that democracy can function.
Yes.
And I have to go back on that serious radio show and revise what I said.
Yes, please.
I was such a sucker. Anyway, and you know what? Again, if you care about democracy, you should want these votes counted. Well, thank you so much again, Yvonne, for joining us. And check out NY Primary Problems.
The Facebook group.
Hashtag NY Primary Problems. And
reach out to us.
Upload your stories, upload your photos of being disenfranchised. Tell them on video form. I'm Katie Helper.
99 plus problems.
Yeah. This has been Talk Bernie to Me. I'm Katie Helper.
Kathleen Graves.
And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Talk Bernie to me. Talk Bernie to me.